Hello everyone, and I welcome you all to another video of our string series. Alright, and in this video we're going to look at one of the important problems called leftmost repeating character. So, first of all, I would like to tell you that I couldn't find any coding platform which has this question exactly. Alright, but this question is very important because it has been asked in numerous companies like Goldman Sachs and many more. Alright, so I thought that you have to understand the approach to how to solve this problem. So for that, I have written the basic driver codes here, int main and header files, and we have to just complete this function and see whether our output is correct or not. Alright, so now let's jump to our question. So it's basically leftmost repeating character, right? So let me first of all tell you how to for what is basically what is the what the question is asking. All right. So basically, if we are given a string, suppose our input string is geeks for geeks, so there would be characters which will be repeated in the string. Alright, for suppose G is repeated here and here, E is repeated, K is repeated, S is repeated. Alright, so suppose if these characters are repeated, then we have to find the leftmost repeating character. Suppose C, G is here, E is here, E is also here. So E is a repeating character, but you can see that G is here and G is here. So G is also repeating character. So which is the leftmost among them? Obviously G, right? So our output would be 0. The index of the leftmost repeating character, that is 0. You know that string is saved as a 0 based index, so our output would be 0. Alright. And suppose if a string is A, B, C, D, E, no repeating character, so our output would be -1. Okay, so this is the basic idea of the code. So first of all, let's talk about the nice solution here. What I can basically do is I can have two loops. Okay, suppose I have two iterators I, all right, and I have j, which will go from I plus 1. Okay, and I'll check for every character. If I encounter the same character, I'll return the index of this element. Basically I'll return I. And if I cannot find, I'll just simply return -1 in the end. Okay, so that sounds cool. So let's try and code this thing. Okay, so let's go back to our Visual Studio Code. Let me increase it a bit so you can see better. Alright, so exactly what did I just say? That we'll have two loops. I is equal to 0, I less than str dot length, right? And I'll have one more loop j, which will move from I plus 1, j less than str dot length, and j plus plus. All right. Okay. Now I can do two things here. Suppose if my stri is equal to strj, at any point, what I'll do, I'll simply return I. Alright, and if it is not equal, I will simply return -1 in the end. Okay, that's what we learned. Now let's try and run this code. Let's see if it works. See, our output is first repeating character is G. Because our input string was this. Suppose I make it E B C D E. Let's try and run this. Okay, what is the problem here? Okay, we didn't save the code. Now let's try and run this. See, okay, this was when index was -1, right? Cool. Now let's talk about the time complexity. So we are having two nested loops here. Like first this loop and inside it we have another loop. So we clearly know that in such cases we are going to have time complexity of auxiliary of O n square. N is the number of characters here. Okay. Now if I ask you how you will optimize this thing. Okay. So let me raise it a bit. So okay. Now let's talk how we can optimize this stuff. So, if you remember in the last video, I told you about how we can use a character array to store the indexes, right? So, what I can have is suppose I have a character array of size 256 and all the elements stored are -1. Alright, like this. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to move from this element. Okay, and I'm going to say that if um, right, so suppose I retrieve um, value of suppose char g. I stored this value in some my element fi. All right, so initially here what I'll get f I'll get fi as -1. All right, and suppose if I come here now my like we'll talk about this situation, but suppose here I come and I somehow stored the uh, value of index of g 0 in char g. All right, so now here fi would be 0. Okay, so suppose I have output which will print as res. Okay, so res would be minimum of either res or current fi. All right, cool. And suppose if fi is equal to -1, we'll store that means we encountered this element for the first time, and we'll store the its index here. So if this is the case, we are going to store char of g as fi. Okay, cool. So let's do one thing. I think it is a bit complicated for you guys. So first of all, let's try and write a code. Okay, and then we'll have a dry run on our input string. This we'll have a dry run here. Okay, so let me erase all this stuff for now. Okay, okay. So remember a bit what I just told you. So we can write it. So I have a vector int char, and I told you how we store elements, like how we initialize it like this, right? So we have a character array called char, and all the elements currently are -1. Okay, now I'm going to have a loop. Okay, and I'm going to store index or element of my, like, the letter I encounter in character array, right? So int fi is going to be what? Int fi is going to be what exactly? Char, right, of sgri, right? Now I simply say if fi is equal to -1, char of stri is equal to fi, else res is equal to min of res plus fi. I didn't mention res here, so let's have res as int max initially. Okay, so we had this loop. Now I'll just simply say if res is equal to int max, that means I didn't find um sorry, to -1. Yeah, so this means I, like, the string didn't have any duplicate characters, so I'll just simply return -1. All right, so this would be int max only, right? Yeah, else I'm going to return res. All right, let's change it to geeks for geeks, and let's hope our answer comes out to be G. Okay, there is some problem here, I guess so. Hmm. Guess we are having some trouble here. Let's see what are we doing wrong here. So we have int res as int max, and we have this thing. I just said int fi is equal to char of sri. Alright, we just said if I is equal to -1, we just put char sri is equal to, okay, this is going to be I, right? This is going to be I. Hmm. Now let's render this thing. Your first repeating character is G. So, okay, just take a screenshot of this code for now, and now we are just going to have a dry run of this code on the same string, and then you'll understand what we are exactly doing here. All right. So, okay, suppose I have a character array. I'm not writing the char as whole. I just understand it's -1, -1, and -1. Okay. Res currently is int max. right? Okay. Now I come at this point. All right. So now my fi is what? It is minus one. Well, fi is basically what? Character of fi currently is what? C of g. But since this is the first element, all the elements are minus one. So fi is minus one. So according to our code, what is going to happen? If fi is equal to minus 1, g will just change character of stri as I, right? So that means c of g is now 0, right? Now I come to e, same thing happens. Now character of e is 1. Now I come here, and when I come here, our fi becomes 1, alright? And we have seen that if fi is not equal to minus 1, which in our case here it is 1, so we'll have res as minimum of either res or fi. So now our res is going to change to 1, right? Now I hope you're getting what exactly is happening here. So similarly, this code is going, and at a point it will come here. Alright, now our fi is going to be c of g. C of g is the what is that? 0. Right, now we'll again see that if fi is not equal to minus 1, we are going to have res as minimum of either res or fi. So our fi is this, our res is this, which is the minimum fi obviously. So we'll change res to 0. Alright, and we run I further, but obviously no number would be less than 0. So our output, meaning what our function is going to return is 0, and hence we are getting g. Alright, so this was a very important problem as asked in many interview questions, and plus you use the important algorithm which I teached you in our previous class. Alright, so I guess that's it for this video. We'll be looking at some of more problems in the upcoming videos, and thank you for watching. See you later.